Thank you everybody for coming. I'm really excited to share some ideas with you. And as you can see from the title here, what I'm going to be talking about is the journey from I can't to I did. This is how we get from saying that I can't do all of these different things to actually accomplishing them. And I'm hoping that along the way that you will find the motivation and the belief that you can do this too, as I explain the process of my journey and show you a little bit what your journey might be like as well. My personal journey, my I can't, was going back to school. I had finished an associate degree about nearly 20 years ago and had always planned on going on after that to get a bachelor's degree. And for 19 years, I told myself I can't go back to school, I can't go on and finish. And so it sat on my little shelf of I can'ts in my mind. And if you guys can all imagine, you all have one. You all have a shelf in your mind of all the things that you've stashed away over the years saying, I can't do this, I can't do that. I can't go to Italy, I can't lose weight, I can't learn a new language, I can't learn an instrument. Whatever that is, think about that in your mind. What is your I can't? And as we go through this process, I'm going to show you not only how you can, but how you will, and how someday you'll be able to look back and say, I did. The first step of the journey is moving from I can't to I can. This is a process of changing the way that you think. A lot of what stops us from even trying to move forward is this belief that we're incapable. And this can be a difficult process to go through. For me personally, my list of I can'ts was, I can't afford school, I can't take the time, I can't be going back and forth to campus, I had a job, I had to work, I couldn't work myself around a schedule. So think for a moment, in your can't, in your I can't, what is your list? What are all the reasons that you've been telling yourself, I can't do that? And then change your thinking. Turn every single one of those I can't into an I can. I discovered that I can get loans and grants. I can take just a few classes at a time. I can take online classes. So think for a moment, how can you change your I can't into an I can? This is going to require you to either do some research to find the answers to solve those problems, and sometimes you're going to need to ask a friend for help. We are almost naturally programmed to be defeatist. We grow up thinking poorly about ourselves, but we think more positively about our friends often than we do about ourselves. So if you have trouble finding the answers to why you can do something, take that list to a friend. And I bet if you give your list to your friend and say, I'd really like to do this, I'd like to lose weight, I'd like to go back to school, I'd like to travel, I just don't see how I can do it, I can guarantee your friend's going to be able to answer those questions with you. Step 2 is to move from I can to I will. If saying that I can was enough to get the journey done, then all of us would probably weigh about 120 pounds and look like supermodels, because all of us at one time in our lives have said, I can lose weight. But that's not enough. Anybody that tells you you can think yourself thin, it takes more than that, and we know that. This quote here, if you, not too far. Okay, so going from I can to I will involves taking all of those issues and making an actual specific plan, and then writing it down. This quote here, if you have a goal, write it down. If you don't write it down, it is not a goal, it's a wish. If you can imagine somebody going into a bank to get a loan and telling the banker, yeah, I'd like a loan, and he says, well, where's your business plan? And he says, oh, it's in my mind. That's not going to cut it. Goals need to be written down. Along with that, our goals need to be SMART. The SMART goal stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. Specific, for me personally in my journey, I couldn't just say, I want to go back to school. Okay, what kind of degree do I want? What school do I want to go to? What do I want to achieve by doing this? Measurable, there needs to be some way to tell when you've actually achieved this goal. Achievable means it needs to be something that is actually capable of being done. People go back to school all the time, so yes, going back to school is possible. If you're setting a goal to lose weight, how much weight? How are you going to know when you're done? Achievable. I could say, I want to slim down to 75 pounds. That is not achievable. I would die first. So, realistic. It needs to be something that is within the realms of reality. I could have said that, yes, I need about 80 credits. I'm going to do it in 2 semesters. That's not realistic. I could say I want to lose 50 pounds by next month. That's probably not realistic, and I'm setting myself up for failure. Timely just means you have to have an end mark. You have to have some time that says, I'm going to be done by a specific deadline, otherwise you continue to set yourself out forever and ever and ever. The next step is to go from I will to I am. Now I've changed my thinking. I've got a specific goal. I've got a specific set of steps. If I stop there, I go nowhere. Next step, you have to actually take action. And so that's what gets you from I will is future. I'm going to do this someday. I am means I'm doing it right now. And that involves taking action. This quote here from Amelia Earhart, the best way to do it is to do it. Just start taking that first step. And this other quote here that I'm sure you're all quite familiar with, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Any journey begins with a single step. Whether it's 10 steps or 100 or 1,000 miles, you have to take that first step and then take the next step and the next one after that. And that's where your plan comes into play, is that it tells you what your next step is going to be. The next step takes us from I am to I did. Because along this journey, as we're taking this step after step after step, you're going to hit some roadblocks. Your journey may have started out intentionally pointing yourself straight up the mountain, taking the quickest, shortest route. And about halfway up, you realize this is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. You might have to change your plan. You might have to decide, I'm going to take a few switchbacks and take a little bit longer, a little bit more gradual route. But it'll still get me to the top. So it's okay to change plans here and there. The point is to keep going through every obstacle, through every brick wall you might happen to hit. Perseverance means steadfastness in doing something despite the difficulty or delay in accomplishment. So in my personal journey, the brick walls that I hit were problems with getting prerequisites, getting the right classes in the right order, that ended up setting me out a little bit. I ran into brick walls with financial aid. I ran into a lot of things that if I had decided to let that stop me, it could have stopped my journey right there, and I would have never made it to the top. But I decided to keep going. And keep in mind here that it's okay to have help. Anybody who has ever climbed Mount Everest has never done it by themselves. It does not take away from the accomplishment to have help along the way. If you need help getting over that boulder in your way, or the crevasse, or jumping over the gulch, whatever it may be, get some help if you need it, but keep going. After this, it's time to celebrate. Because at this point, you've accomplished that goal. You've climbed the mountain, you are standing at the top of the mountain. Whether you've lost weight and you've worked through the setbacks of, I had the double cheeseburger and it kind of set me back a little while, but I'm not going to make that take me off track. Or I'm having difficulty learning this language, I just don't get this concept. You keep moving, you keep going through that. I can tell you now, after 19 years of telling myself that I can't, I have in 2.5 years accomplished something that I could not do for 19 years. And the view, I'm nearly at the peak. I've got a few more weeks and that will be at the peak of that mountain. And the view from the top is so much better than the view from the bottom. So again, this is not just about me. This is about you. This is about you being able to take the same journey and decide what you haven't been able to do for years. And I want you right now to take that thing that you picked off of your shelf. Don't try to clear off the whole shelf at the same time. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, but pick one thing. The one thing that you've been wanting to do the most, take it off your shelf and start looking at it. Figure out what you've been telling yourself that you can't do and turn it into an I can by changing your thinking, Change your I can into an I will by making a plan and writing it down. Change that I will into an I am by taking action, getting your feet moving, and turn that into an I did by persevering, going through all of the roadblocks that you find. And I will be waiting for you at the summit. Thank you.